Ahayah Shalom. Ahayah Shalom. I like to exhort my Malak, Ahayah, my Allah, my power, Ahayah. I want to speak about his anointing that we are all waiting for. We are waiting for Ahayah to anoint himself before the whole earth so all nations and creeds of people can see the salvation of our Malak, our King. When you read Isaiah chapter 52, start at verse 10, or you can start at 9. I'm going to start at 9. For it says, ruins of Yarashalam, be happy again, rejoice because Ahayah comforted his people and set Yarashalam free. Now, I had a talk with a brother the other day, or yesterday, and I was trying to tell him that the people of Yarashalam was a certain bloodline. The bloodline of David, sons and daughters. The bloodline of Zadok, sons and daughters, which is the high priest line of Levi or Levi. The tribe of Benjamin, the tribe of Judah, or Yahweh, sons and daughters. They make up the the people of Yarashalam or Jerusalem as a people, not talking about the city. So in verse 10, no, so in verse 9, when it says Ahayah comforted his people and set Yarashalam free, because these are the bloodlines and the tribes that went into the captivities of the Americas. You know? So that's why it's very key to understand bloodlines and prophecy. So when you read, you can read it in its proper context. Now, when you go to verse 10, this is the key. Ahayah showed his holy strength, his holy Allah to all the nations, all the faraway countries saw how Ahayah saved his people. So a lot of us are just planning this get up and go and leave because in the next verse, it tells you to leave Babylon or the daughter of Babylon or America or the Americas. So a lot of us just get up and leave. We have to wait until Ahayah anoints himself. And this is what verse 10 is talking about. When he showed his holy Allah, his strength before the nations, by breaking the chains of this captivity that we are up under, breaking the chains of slavery, because a lot of us think we're not in slavery still. We're still in a mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual slavery. We're still going through that right now because that's what we suffer from in the places that we are at. We all are going through things that is breaking us down, constantly. So we are going through these slaveries right now. But this is what we are waiting for Ahayah to show us Allah, his power and strength, to all the nations. That's anointing himself. Because once he showed all this power, and he's going to anoint himself so they can know that he is who? Ahayah. Because they don't even know he's Ahayah. Because the Jews falsified his name, and they think that the power of Yasharallah or Yasharallah, they think the power of Yasharallah is Yahweh, Yah, Jehovah, Yehovah, Yahuwah, Yahweh, they think that's the name because that is the name that these so-called Jews put forth and claimed that this is the holy name not to be spoken and made some sort of importance for that name. So when the world learns about the Jews' God, they learn about YHWH or Yah or Yahweh, Yahuwah or Yahoo, all of these names. They learn about that, so they don't even know who Ahayah, Ahayah is. The great I am, spoken in Exodus chapter 3, verse 14 and 15. They don't even know who Ahayah is. So Ahayah will show his Allah, his strength, and anoint himself before the whole world. All nations is going to see how strong he is, and he is the true power of Yasharala. The true power of the so-called black man in captivity in these Americas, or the Afro-Latin as well, for they are us as well. Once he break that and delivers us, like he says here in verse 10, and all the faraway countries saw how Ahayah saved his people. Once that take place, then Ahayah has anointed himself before the world. Verse 11, it says, so leave Babylon, leave that place. You Cohens or priests, you carry the things that belong to Ahayah. So make yourselves pure. Don't touch anything that is not pure. Then this is what's key right here. See, a lot of people is just getting up out here and leaving. But Ahayah says right here in verse 12, you will leave Babylon or America or the Americas, wherever we are at, that bloodline of Yavrashalam, I'm say it again, bloodline of David, sons and daughters, the bloodline of Zadok, of the high priest line, sons and daughters, the tribe of Benjamin, and the tribe of Yehoiada or Judah, make up, and also Levite, okay, make up the bloodline of Yerusalem or Jerusalem. Now it says in verse 12, you will leave Babylon or the Americas, but they will not force you to leave in a hurry. You will not be forced to run away. Ahayah will be in front of you. The power of Yasharallah will be behind you. So when we leave and return, because we're not leaving and returning directly into the land, because we have to go through that stint and that process of Ezekiel chapter 20. The purging of the rebels and transgressors. See, Ahayah is going to bring all that endures back, but not all is going to pass under and make it into the land. That is the difference. So you can be prideful here, you can be arrogant, you can be all of these things. Not necessarily Ahayah is going to purge you off in this captivity, because he even wants the prideful and the arrogant to see his salvation, and then if they continue to stay in their pride and their arrogance, then they're going to see his righteousness on who he lets pass under the rod and enter into his land of Yasharallah. We serve a mighty Malak, a mighty king. Beautiful indeed he is. That's what we serve. So, those of you who just left without Ahayah being in your front and Ahayah being at your back, the same way we left out of old Egypt, Mizraim, is the same way we gonna leave out. It's gonna be similar. Ahayah was at our front and our back, and the seed of Dawi right there. Old Egypt was the seed of Lewi or Levi, because Moses was the leader there. But this time, you're going to have the seed of Dawi right there, and also the seed of Zadok right there next to him. The high priest, the anointed high priest, Zadok, and we leave as a unit so the world can see. Because the world and all nations and other people who mock at us, talk crazy, they're going to witness the power of Ahayah unto his people, and they're going to be ashamed, they're going to be like, we've been treating and looking at Ahayah's treasured people in this manner. And they're going to humble themselves. And they're going to want to get it right with Ahayah. And they're going to want to get it right with us, too. We're going to have great respect leaving. So this is what we're waiting on. We're waiting on the anointing of Ahayah. We are now in that tipping point right now. We're at the iceberg. We see the new world order that they're trying to in place. We see it through the meta, right? The metaverse is what they're trying to, Is it evoke? Yeah, evoke. I was about to say invoke. The metaverse is what they're trying to evoke, right? The metaverse is a false reality world that's triggered to attack the poor, while the rich, the Amalekite Edomites and its alliances live in the real world and capture all the finances and economics and things of value, while the poor lives in this false reality and they get exalted as gods, lowercase idols, right before the people, because they will have total control of that. That's what they want. That new world system. We see that being implemented with the NFT, and we also see that with the metaverse. I just got to finish reading something with um I don't really like quoting stuff that I don't have the full information. I was just reading it. But the Roman Catholics, and I don't want to say Saudi Arabia, but I know what this is say the Roman Catholics and Islam, next year they're going to create a what is it? A truce or peace, but it's something based upon the Abrahamic family connection, and they're going to try to make a peace or a truce or a new order between them. Okay, okay, a new world headquarters. There we go, and had them parties involved. That's wild. It has me thinking right now, because when I think about Saudi Arabia, I always think about Saudi Arabia. They're the rich ones, and I see Esau a lot in that. Even though Esau comes in all colors, because he's a part of all nations, but I really strongly feel that Esau is really deep up in the Saudis' country. And they have a lot of clefts there too. You know anything about the clefts? The clefts has a lot to do with Esau's territory. But that's a whole nother topic, whole nother discussion. But you know, I just wanted to just kind of tap in with that just a little bit. But that's what they have in position. So we right there to where they're trying to implement that. We see the COVID thing ain't went nowhere. We see vaccinations is increasing. That's kind of an understatement word. We see that it's really going up. I see a lot of things happening with my people. We see how fast time is going. All of this is happening because Ahayah is trying to get to that point of his anointing. He's speeding the time up on these Amalekite Edomites who have dominion, rather slowing it down so they can cherish their dominion and move slowly, move patiently like they've been doing all of these years. But now he's speeding things up to where so they moving quickly too. They not halting, they moving quickly right now. And we see that with the vaccines and the COVID, and we see with the food shortages, what they doing, how they stopping all of that. Nothing's coming in. You know what I mean? Like they really about to crack down. But the sad thing about all of this is, as this is coming into place, a lot of my people are losing it and breaking the bonds with their own people. People losing families, losing friends, loved ones. It's crazy. But all this has to take place. But as all of this is taking place, you know, Ahayah is still in control. So for all those who's going through something over there, just know Ahayah is speeding it up just for you. And it's all about the anointing. Forget forget all that idol worshiping stuff, man. Like Ahayah gonna purge all that anyway. Like just why you was brought here to this side of the earth, spread it throughout these countries and spread it throughout these Americas to serve idols. You know what I'm saying? But find it somewhere in your heart to understand that the idols where we learn the religions and the practices and doctrines where we learn all of this comes from these other nations, and it's their doctrine. It's their idolatry. We got to let it go. Yes, we woke up to know that we are Yasharallah here, but that's only because Ahayah had to keep his word in Malachi chapter 3, verse 16 through 18. Like he said, a book of scrolls. A lot of people been sending me, what? Well, there was a book of remembrance written, because it also says a book of remembrance, like an actual book of remembrance. But that's not what Ahayah is talking about. He's not talking about a book actually called the Book of Remembrance, and then you read that, and this is what Ahayah is talking about. No, the Book of Remembrance is the so-called Old Testament, because it brings the remembrance of Ahayah's testimonies, his laws, his name, his people, our situations, our circumstances, our conditions, our instructions, everything. That's why it's called the Book of Remembrance, or the Book of Scrolls, right? Because these literally were scrolls. You know that. So try to just leave all that idolatry alone and just get right with Ahayah, because that's what it's about right now. We at that tipping. If your faith is lacking, just try to strengthen it up some kind of way. You know what I'm saying? Build your strength, and that will build your character. And like the words of Solomon, man, or Shalomo, or whenever going through something or some kind of sickness, either it's physical sickness, mental sickness, physical, physical or mental, or even spiritual sickness, never give up, because that's when you lose. I'm gonna do a video on that. When you give up, that's when you're taken out. Like when someone is sick and they give up, they die. They die because they gave up. Not necessarily the sickness killed them. A lot of times people don't find things to live for, you know, and when they lose something, they feel like they have nothing to live for, or if their situation get worse, they just give up. But don't give up, because the words of Solomon tells us, you know what I mean? Like, put your trust in Ahayah and never give up, because to give up is to die. So always trust, even learn how to trust. Like, I get it, if you can't just trust off the bat, you can learn how to trust. But then once you figuring that out, just always feel like you can make it. Never give up on Ahayah, because he's coming back to claim what's his, and that's us and his city, and he's going to anoint himself. So all praise to Ahayah Allah, and I love you, Ahayah Allah, and we must show Yahra. Yahra means fear towards Ahayah Allah. All praise be to Ahayah Allah. I love you, Ahayah Allah. Yes, servant.